Rob Skinner, and this is the Rob Skinner podcast. Today I'm talking about how to make 2026 your best year so far. I'm going to share the process that I use and offer some practical tips and help on creating a fantastic and fruitful year in 2026. All this and more on the Rob Skinner podcast. Welcome back to the Rob Skinner podcast. My goal is to inspire you to live a no regrets life, make this life count, and multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. I hope you had a fantastic holiday season. I hope you enjoyed Christmas and New Year. We had a great finish to the year. We had a couple baptisms in our downtown ministry here in Boston. And what was really nice about them is they're kind of surprise baptisms. I wasn't totally expecting them. I was wondering if the person was going to make it or not. And about a week before Christmas, they both just had major heart changes. It was so encouraging to see that happen. And so we were able to see them get baptized right before Christmas, and just great. One was a medical student, third-year medical student here at Boston University, and the other is just graduating from Suffolk University, is going to work in a financial firm here in the downtown Boston area. So really great people, fantastic. Pam and I had an opportunity to do a service activity, which was really fun and rewarding. Our kids came into town for the week, which was so nice. And we have 3 kids, 2 sons and a daughter. And my daughter's married. Her husband came. My son came from Texas, and I've got a middle son here living in the Boston area. So he came with his wife, had them over for Christmas. My Pam's sisters were here in town too. So just had a great time. Just enjoyed the Boston Common is like right next to where we live. The lights were up. There's a tree there that's just beautiful, and really enjoyed a nice city Christmas here in the Boston area. So right after that, Pam and I went to Portsmouth, New Hampshire for a planning retreat. I'm going to talk more about that. We just kind of planned out the entire year in 2026, which was fantastic. And I love this time of year, at the end of the year, the beginning of the year, because it reminds me God is a God of new things. And I love in Isaiah 43, verse 19, when it says, "See, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" And God is always doing new things. And it's so, I know we can change it any time, at any month, any time period. That goes without saying. But there's something about the new year. You go, okay, this is going to be new. This is going to be different. And I hope you feel that sense of excitement that God is going to do something really new for me. I was sharing it at the welcome last Sunday. And I just thought, a year ago, if you would have told me, hey, guess what? In a year, you're going to be in Boston leading a downtown professional ministry. We're like, what? Are you kidding? Never would have seen it coming. And yet God was doing a new thing in our lives. And we didn't see it completely for sure at the beginning of last year. But you got to think, okay, what does God have planned for me in 2026? 2026 doesn't have to be a repeat of the past for you. It can be a year of greater closeness to God, deeper relationships with people, bigger impact than anything you've experienced before. All it takes is a little bit of planning and preparation. So let me share some of the practices that I'm using as I step into this new year, and I hope they can help you just have an amazing year in 2026. First of all, count your blessings. Count your blessings. I love Psalm 103, verse 2. It says, "Praise the Lord, my soul, and forget not all his benefits." Forget not all his benefits. Sometimes we come into the new year and we're a little world weary, we're a little tired, we're a little bit jaded because we look back and go, oh man, so many things just didn't turn out. Prayer's not answered. That didn't happen. And we can get a little bit cynical and we can feel like, oh, I don't have enough. I don't have enough of this. And that's why it's so important to take some time out and write out all the gifts that God has given you, both this past year and even beyond that. And don't stop until you're filled with gratitude. I use my trusty letter pad that I had for years, but I just love it. I just write down, 1 through 20, and I just start listing out. And I'm thankful for God. I'm grateful for my salvation. I'm grateful for what Jesus did. I'm so grateful for my wife, 35 years, my happy marriage, my kids, just that's amazing. Some of my kids are married. That's a blessing. And it just starts, gradually you just go, oh, I got a lot more than I thought. Our mindset can play tricks on us, and Satan wants us to work from a mindset of like, I don't have enough. But when you use that exercise, you start to fill up, you go, whoa, I got so much. I just have not been paying attention to it. And that's why you need to not forget not all his blessings. Take the time to count your blessings until you are filled with gratitude and you've got the right mindset so that you're ready for a new year from a mindset of abundance or just an overflow that God's given you. Second thing to do is review 2025, review the year, both the good and the bad. Now, you've already probably gone through that with the Thanksgiving list, but what did you do well? What did you fail to do or not do enough of? What relationships need mending? Where'd you fall short? What goals did you set that you failed to reach? I have my list that I made of my goals. I hit some of my goals, but then about half of them I didn't hit, didn't even come close to them. So don't get discouraged when you look back and go, oh, that didn't happen. Hey, goals, I'm going to talk more about that, but goals have a value, but they don't tell you everything about your life. And so let's just say, hey, last year was a great year in this area, but I'd like to be more fruitful. I'd like to study the Bible with someone who becomes a Christian. Well, that's good. Take a look at that. Just get clarity on where you're at. Don't judge yourself. Try not to just get harsh on yourself and emotionally attach a value to your performance. Instead, just step back, step outside, go, okay, that was good. This needs improvement. Try to be a little bit clinical about your evaluation. Now, this is where I've done something a little different than I have in the past. If you're using AI or Chat GPT, you may want to try this. And this is something I tried for the first time this year. I've been starting to use Chat GPT, which has been super helpful this year. But I just typed in, you are my personal coach. Just type this in. Give me an evaluation of this past year. What did I do well? What do I need to improve on? What changes can I make to make 2026 better? And it was a little bit eye-opening. It was like, whoa, I realized, whoa, ChatGPT's been listening to, it's been paying attention and recording what I've been typing in there, because it gave me a good rundown of highs and lows and areas of improvement. It was super, super helpful. So if you're using AI, you might want to consider it. Now, if you don't use it, no problem at all. Just do your own evaluation. But it's simply a tool. Now, AI is not God. It's not perfect. It's just a tool to use. But just to bring it up as a suggestion, because sometimes it can spark different ideas. And you go, oh, I wasn't thinking about that. That's a good idea. And so, third thing, after you're thankful and then you review the year. Third, write out your goals for 2026. It's not too late. I know this is coming out about a week into the year. It is not too late. I had a discipling time with a brother last night, and I asked him what his goals were for the year. I ask everybody this because I love goals and I love to talk about it. And he just stared at me, just kind of blankly, just like a deer in the headlights. Like, he was quiet for about 10 seconds. And he said, I don't have any. I don't do goals. Now, this guy is a fantastic person. He's friendly. He's cheerful. He loves God with a passion. And I just quoted this scripture to him. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15 and 16. It says, be very careful then how you live, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. And the ESV version says, look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of time because the days are evil. That's Ephesians 5, verse 15 from the ESV. Goals are like using a budget for our time. We have a budget for money, but time is really your most valuable resource. And it keeps us on track and helps us to get back on track so that we can become 10x Christians or Christians who live no regrets lives or make this life count. And you got to make this life count. And that's what Paul's talking about there. He says, redeem the time, make the most of every opportunity. And the way you do that is by setting some goals so that you are charting the direction you're trying to go on. And when you go off track, you can go, okay, what's my goal? Okay, I'm trying to go in this direction. What's the next step I can take toward that? And I would strongly recommend you doing that. If you haven't done it, you're like, oh, I don't like goals. Okay, bear with me. Okay, it's really important. Make some categories. First of all, I think the most important is, for me at least, peace of mind and spirituality. I think all of us really want peace of mind. We want to feel close to God. We want to enjoy the grace of God. We want to stand in God's grace. We want to have a relationship with God that's really satisfying and makes us happy. And that brings us back to God over and over again. And so just ask yourself, okay, how do I want to feel a year from now? How do I want to end 2026? I want to look back and go, I really enjoyed peace of mind. I wasn't troubled, wasn't tortured by all sorts of sin and temptation. Instead, I really enjoyed long stretches of peace of mind. And so figure out what's that going to take. Secondly, health and fitness. What are you going to need to do to stay in shape this year? Now, if you're getting older, hey, it's time to make some small changes. You don't need to become Arnold Schwarzenegger. You don't need to, join CrossFit or anything like that. But you can make some small changes to help your health. Maybe it's time to schedule some appointments with a doctor. Make sure you're getting some checkups and making sure you're checking out okay. Third area to set goals in: relationships, and relationships like marriage, parenting, and friendships. How are those doing? Okay, and what do you want to grow in your marriage, in your parenting, in your friends? What are your goals there? Another category: fun and adventure. What are you going to do that's fun this year? What are you going to do that's really exciting? That's going to get your blood pumping. And if you just say, oh, I'm just going to study the Bible with people, okay, that's great. that's understood. Okay, that's kind of if you're listening to this channel, that goes without saying. But what are you going to do that really gets your blood pumping? What bucket list item are you going to knock off this year? For me, my daughter's graduating from her PhD program in nursing, and we're going to go to Japan. We're going to go back to Japan and go visit together, like all together with our kids, and spend a couple weeks there. We're going to do that in May. So that's going to be really, really fun. Look forward to that, seeing old friends and seeing a beautiful country there in Japan. So that's kind of going to be one of our big adventures this year. Another goal area: money. Okay, what are you going to do financially? What's your plan? What are you doing to plan for retirement? What are you going to do to bring in a little extra cash? What are you going to do to increase your savings? Really important category, not the only category, but definitely an important one. Maybe you need to work on tithing. Maybe you've just been really shortchanging God or robbing God. Maybe this is the year to change that. What are you going to do in the mission? Okay, look back on the year and you go, okay, wasn't that effective? Not really working with people. This is the year I'm going to baptize somebody. Just set that as a goal. That's a great goal. I'm going to save a soul this year. Career. What do you need to work on? What skills do you need to grow in? Where would you like to be in your job a year from now? And then finally, learning, reading, and skills. Things are changing in this world. You need to keep up. You need to be learning stuff. You need to be growing in your skills and your capacities and your people skills, your technical skills. What courses are you going to take? What seminars are you going to go to? These are all important because you are a fully formed person, a well-rounded, you're in the image of God, but you need to view your goals as like addressing all of those qualities. Peace of mind, first and foremost, because without that, life is a mess. Health and fitness. If you don't have if your health and your body is breaking down and you can't really access anything, you can't really be of service to God in a great way. Relationships are so vital. Fun and adventure is important. Money, mission that we live for, your career, and then just learning and growing, sharpening the saw, as the writer Stephen Covey said from his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You got to sharpen the saw and train yourself to be even better this year. So fourth point to prepare for the best year ever: build a routine to serve your goals. Okay, if you've ever had the experience of setting goals, putting them away in your drawer, coming back to them a year later, go, oh, those are my goals. Oh boy. If you experience that emptiness or that gap between what you wrote down and what actually transpired, there's this next step after writing the goals, and that is building a routine to serve your goals. Bill Walsh, the 49ers coach from the 80s, said, focus on the process, not the prize. Focus on what produces results, not on the results. And that's just a lot of wisdom from a football coach. And I think it's really important is that you have to have a system that you're doing every day in order to accomplish your goals. If you want to be if you want to save a soul, you have to be a mission-minded person every day. That may mean, hey, I'm going to try to share my faith every day this year. Well, that's like a system you set up that's going to help you accomplish that purpose, which is to save souls. And so you need to develop a routine. You need to think through, okay, what do I need to be doing every single day that's going to get me closer to my goals? Super, super important point that often gets forgotten. And I've certainly made the mistake. I'm super goal oriented, but it's really important. And I've mentioned this in previous episodes, like Scott Adams talks about that, developing systems, focusing on your systems, which are your daily routines. Now, my routine this year that I'm focusing on, at least for the first quarter, is walk 30 minutes a day. I've just been waking up. It's pretty cold here in Boston, especially compared to Arizona. But I'm just like, hey, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to get out and face it. I wake up and I go walk for 30 minutes. And it's like pretty chilly out there. Secondly, pray and meditate at least 30 minutes. So I try to shoot for 30 to 60 minutes. Ideally, for peace of mind, I love 60 minutes just to sit in the presence of God, enjoy my relationship with Him. But that's what I do. And when I'm walking, I'm listening to the Bible. I've got Bible, I'm going through the Bible, book of Genesis. I'm like chapter 20 or something right now. But that helps. That produces double impact. It helps your body, helps your spirituality, your mind. Has a multiple impact. Third routine this year: write something before checking my phone. So in the morning, I go for a walk, come back and pray, and then I've got to write for 30 minutes before I check my phone. Because writing is one of the most difficult things. And I don't want to be just a consumer. I want to be a producer. I want to create things to help people and to serve God. And writing is one of the things I can do. I write scripts for my podcast. I write chapters for future books. And writing is really important, but it's one of the hardest things to do. It's one of those things that my sinful nature is like, would rather do anything else, check my phone, check my email, do anything other than write. So that's got to be right in the morning. If I want to be a writer and help people and produce podcasts, then I better do this. Another system: put my fork to bed at 7 p.m. Okay, as you get older, your metabolism slows a little bit. So I've made a decision this year: no late night eating. So that means I take my fork, I put it to bed. That means basically I'm not eating after 7 p.m. And that's worked out so far pretty well this year. Keeps me away from the late night binging. Put my phone to bed at 9 o'clock. Always a good decision. And this is something that, if you'll notice, like your willpower starts to drain away at night. And so making sure that the temptation to look on screens, to look at stuff, it's just not even available. So putting the phone to bed at 9 p.m. is a decision I've made. And then just keep track of it every day. I've got a habit tracker over here on the wall that I like to use to encourage myself. I go, okay, I'm on a streak here. So those are some things. So you set your goals, but then you also set your daily system to help you to move toward your goals. And so fifth thing to make this year your best year ever: take a getaway with your spouse. Okay, take some time away. It's not too late to do it. Just an overnight, just find a place, get away, and just talk. And that's what my wife and I did in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. We just talked about all these categories. Say, what do we want to do with our money this year? What do we want to do with our kids? What do we want to do for fun this year? What do we want to do vacation-wise? What do we want to do with our ministry? How can we help our ministry? I mean, we had all these categories because it's so important to stay on the same page with your spouse, with your significant other. So I would strongly recommend you do that with your spouse, even if it's just for a day, but I'd encourage you to do it for a night because it makes it more fun. And then just talk over every one of those categories: money, relationships, relationship with God, family, friendships, marriage, vacations, skills to learn. Come to agreement and then enjoy each other's company. So that really helps. Next, use your imagination and faith to dream of a great year. And I picked this up from Jesse Itzler. I was listening to a video he created on this planning the year. And he just said, ask yourself, how do I want to feel at the end of 2026? How do I want to feel about the year? And I think that's a great exercise. It's kind of like if you stepped into a time machine and you transported yourself a year ahead and you're looking back on 2026, how do you want to feel about it? Well, I want to feel great. I want to feel like I really grew spiritually. I helped people. My character changed. I saved some money, those kind of things. I gave. That's really important. So just kind of imagine, how do I want to feel at the end of this next year? Going along with that, number 7, get a year-long calendar and post your priorities on that calendar. Just put it up on the wall, work with your wife and say, okay, this is where we're going on vacation. This is what's going to happen here. This is when got this conference coming up. And that can really make a big difference. So put your priorities out where you can see it so you don't forget it. I like the dry erase calendars that you can buy. They're not super expensive, but you can just post them. You can find them on Amazon. And you can see the entire year on one sheet of paper, but like 2 feet by 3 feet on one sheet. Pretty handy. And number 8, ask God to bless the work of your hands. I like this passage in Psalm 90. It says, may the favor of the Lord rest on us. Establish the work of our hands for us. Yes, establish the work of our hands. Psalm 90, verse 17. You got to pray about it. Just say, God, here's what I'd like to do. I'm praying that it's in your will and may it be done. Help me to accomplish that. Help me to do that for you. We're called to serve him. God has prepared good works in advance for us to do. You're a spiritual person. I'm assuming that you're going to set goals that are in alignment with his will and go after it. Just ask him to bless the work of your hands. And I just want to close by saying this. Don't get hung up on whether or not your goals haven't been achieved in the past. I've set so many goals that they just didn't happen. It was like a pipe dream, but I wrote it down anyway. Instead, focus on the joy of growing, of making progress as a Christian as you get closer to facing God. I really like what Earl Nightingale said in his recording, The Strangest Secret. He said, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Really like that because you're a success as you progressively grow into the image of Jesus Christ. Now, we know you're already perfect, okay? The scriptures say that in Hebrews. It says, by one sacrifice, he has made perfect those who are being made holy. Like we're already saved. In the eyes of God, we're perfect. But in another way, we're being made perfect. We're being sanctified. And so we've got a whole life ahead of us to continue to grow. And that's very satisfying when you make small progress in the direction of Jesus. You're a success every day that you're making efforts towards your dreams. And so don't get hung up on, I didn't do that. That didn't get accomplished. Who cares? You made progress in the direction of your dreams. And that shows that you're a success, a progressive realization of those dreams. As we step into 2026, I want you to hear this. God is not finished with you. You may have had the roughest year. You may have had so many disappointments, but your best days are not behind you. And this year can be marked by faith, by peace, by growth, by fruitfulness and real impact. Walk with God, live with purpose, and let's together make 2026 our best year so far. Here's a little postscript for you. Send me your goals. I'd love to pray over them and you this coming year. So if you've got some goals, if you've, take some of these things to heart, just email me, just shoot them to me. Hey, here's what I'm praying for. I'll pray for you. I'll look at them. I'll pray over them. You can find me at rob@robskinner.com. I'd love to hear from you and what you're praying for this year. Let's be 10x Christians. Let's devote this year to God and see amazing things happen in our lives. Thanks for listening. Here's how you can help support the Rob Skinner podcast. First, sign up for my weekly newsletter. I'd love to stay connected with you. And I'd really love to just stay connected. I'd love to send you an email every week to encourage you and to build you up. And so you can find that at my website, robskinner.com. And so that's really easy to do. Secondly, read and review my book, my latest book, The 10X Christian. I think it's a good book, and I think it's really helpful. Really some good reviews, but I'd love to hear your review. I'd love to read your review. So you can find that on Amazon.com or on my website, robskinner.com, because my goal is to inspire you to live a no regrets life, make this life count, and multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. Have a great day and make this life count.